introducing to you first, fighting out of the red corner from Assassin's Gym. He weighs in at 87 kilos. Please give it up for Ryan Leroy. And his opponent weighing at 86 kilos. He is an independent fighter and the Mad Dog. Give it up for Adam Rogers. This is amateur light heavyweight MMA over 3 2-minute rounds.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, round number 1, Ryan Leroy versus Adam Rogers. And Leroy looks to move Rogers back against the cage early on. Both fighters in the red, but we have Rogers with the shaved head and Leroy with the non-shaved head, incidentally. And a big slam is coming from Leroy and slams Rogers to the ground. This young man looks stronger than he is, so he is stronger than he looks, ladies and gentlemen. Rogers in trouble here. In his last fight, the young man did lack a little bit of technique, so we'll have to see here if he has rectified that weakness in his game. Rogers exceptionally strong, but not the most technically adept of fighters. And we have Ryan Leroy here, dictating in the clinch up against the cage, dropping some nice knees to the back of the leg of Rogers. And Rogers is on the ground, in control. Let's see if he has the know-how, he has the nous to be able to get into a good position and see if he can get the advantage here in round number 1. At the minute, Rogers just crushing Leroy. No real incidents coming forwards. Doesn't defend the transition, and Leroy moves easily, smoothly into guard. Rogers just clinging on to the back of the neck of Leroy for dear life. Not looking to transition, not looking to move, just grabbing on very, very tightly in a really, really big hug. Again, no real manoeuvre to move from Rogers, and Leroy looks to pound the body. Rogers will grab the head and the referee will stand them up. No damage done, no action. Referee is perfectly within his rights to bring both fighters back up to a standing position. Rogers looks gassed, ladies and gentlemen, early on here in round number 2, breathing heavily. Lungs are gasping and throwing some big and aimless body shots onto Leroy. In fact, both young men starting to look a little bit tired here in round number 1, but Rogers especially spits his gum shield. Ladies and gentlemen, fighters only usually spit their gum shield when they're really tired, and it looks like Rogers is that for sure. Round number 2 here, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Leroy in the blue corner versus Adam Rogers in the red. Sorry, vice versa, ladies and gentlemen. Leroy in the red, Rogers in the blue. And Rogers coming out with a little bit of swagger and a big right leg roundhouse there to the leg of Leroy, and it did send Leroy flying. Give Rogers credit there. He's a very exceptionally strong young man, and will look to potentially get the guillotine here on Leroy. Leroy pushes him up against the cage, looking to transition away from Rogers. No real doing. Rogers will maybe look for some kind of unorthodox slam here. Has his hands wrapped around Leroy, and Leroy with a nice takedown defense onto the right leg of Rogers. Crazed thumping onto the back there by Rogers. Mad Dog indeed. And a nice takedown there from Rogers. A nice example of his technique. Rogers a little bit like a dog with a telephone, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is one of my favourite sayings, but when this particular dog has a telephone, he's not sure how he got it, and doggone, he doesn't really know how to use it. So that's Rogers right now in this grapple. in an advantageous position, but not really sure what to do next. Just kind of happy to hang out there in that position and crush his opponent. But Leroy's starting to drop some knees into the body here of Rogers. Neither fighter really doing an awful lot. Leroy looks to transition out, but Rogers keeps his weight pressed firmly on and starts to drop the chest shots on to Leroy. Again, starts to drop a few elbows there. And again, last 10 seconds here of round number 2. Most of it on the ground. Rogers looks to pound the body there of Leroy. Late on here in round number 2. A much better round there from Adam Rogers. Third and final round here, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan Leroy versus Adam Rogers. Again, Rogers coming out with his... Whoa, a big suplex there from Rogers. A belly-to-belly suplex throwing Leroy over his head. Where on earth did that come from, ladies and gentlemen? That was insane. Does the young man have what it takes to follow up an exciting start to round number 3? As we mentioned earlier, Rogers exceptionally strong, but this, ladies and gentlemen, is where he tends to lack it. In amongst the grapple, with the technique, moving and transitioning from position to position. There is only so far, there's only so much that strength will do for you. Leroy looking to transition here, but nothing doing for him quite yet. Rogers has the net control and looks to fire a few thumps onto the left side of Leroy. Careful not to gas himself here. Again, Rogers quite content to just hang out in this position here, and Leroy will look to transition, but nothing doing for him. Leroy escapes from the neck control there and might look for a leg bar here, but no, Rogers transitions nicely into a full mount and starts to drop a few shots to Leroy, the odd one catching on the chin, but mostly to the body. Rogers starting to drop some shots to the body of Leroy, and Leroy hangs on for dear life. Good work here from Rogers in round number 3. Slightly lacking in technique against Leroy, but making up for it in strength. Last 10 seconds here in round number 3, and you've got to feel this round has gone to Adam Rogers big time as he continues to drop the shots. He's not content with what he's done so far. He wants to drop some more, and he does. A great fight here, ladies and gentlemen. Good work from both of these men.
Great fight, but we do have a unanimous decision, ladies and gentlemen. Your winner is the blue corner, Adam Rogers! Please give it up